welcome. My name's Jarrett. I am an experienced Rubyist and fan of roguelike games and founder of Super Good Software, where we build e-commerce storefronts using Ruby on Rails and Solidus. But today we're not doing e-commerce. We are working on my fun little roguelike project, Good Luck Wizard. Now, we are not too far into building Good Luck Wizard. We can play it right now, and you can... Whoop, I probably just broke it. There we go. You can walk around, and it just draws lines. If you draw lines that look like a dungeon, it kind of looks like... Oh, I'm not... Oh, at least I realized it quickly. There we go. You can see that it draws lines. Today, we are going to be looking at providing like an actual map from like moving our toy game state out of just the main loop where it lives right now, because right now the entire game state is just the position of the player. I want to have some walls and be able to run into them, stuff like that. Additionally, I think that let me think here. I want to move the stuff out of the game state or out of the main loop, have a sort of like game state that the rendering code talks to ask it for what's on the map, and then put things into the map, or put things onto the screen. I think that's all we need to say to get started. Yeah, let's go for it. Let's go. So this is our main loop here in front of me. Specifically this part that starts with loop. And currently we are just taking characters, altering the player's position, drawing them in their new position, refreshing the display, erasing their new position, and doing it all over again. That way we build up that trail, because the actual rendering of the terminal is stateful. So we're erasing it with colors. So, and we can change those colors to be whatever we want. We can do that. And now we've got a weird beige line. Where to start here? So we got a few concerns. One of them is that we know from the get-go that we're not going to want to render the map over the whole screen. We're going to want most of the screen, or most of the screen to be the game area, and then I think I'm going to put along the right side. We'll put maybe sort of. I haven't decided this part. I think we'll do right side. We'll show stats, and we'll show the menus and the game log and that kind of thing. And then along the left side of the screen, the whole left side of the screen will be the actual gameplay area. So that is that. I also want to be able to scroll this thing. I don't know if we'll get to scrolling today, but we'll see. We'll see how far we get. The question is where to start. I know that. We can start by starting to move the game state out into a new object, and then go from there. For example, we use a random number. We initialize a random number generator here, but we never actually use it. So for starters, we can just remove that. That's pretty easy change. Remove unused random number generator. Cool. And now we probably want to. So the overall like game world is going to be like, we're going to need a class at some level that represents that. Like I'm going to have to do, you know, or something here. Maybe that's the whole API we want. And we can move player position into, let's start with this. Let's just try and move the player position into this very bland object and then see where we get. So the API we want, just going to put this. I do want to call it game. I mean, I guess it is fundamentally the whole game state. So let's call it game. That's fine. And we don't need a constructor because it currently doesn't do anything. Oh no, we will need a constructor. We'll write a little bit of code here. I'm not going to test this code yet because, I mean, it's all just going to get, much of it's just going to get thrown away even just over the course of the session. So I don't see a ton of value in that. So this is just going to give me a nice way to return the player's position from this thing, and then that'll be a start. Let's make it so you can move player. Cool. Obviously, like none of this is actually the API that we're going to want to work with down the line, but we're sort of blindly moving the game state out of this. So, and then we'll use the splat operator to grab that stuff. We're just going to call it player position. And then this can all stay the same, and that can all stay the same. And this is where we have to change thing. We'll say g dot move player, and we're moving the x by -1 and the y by 0. Here we're moving the x by 1, the y by 0. Here we are moving the x by 0 and the y by -1. And here we are moving y by 1. Now, does it work? Did we? Oh, I keep doing that. It doesn't stop me from going off the top of the screen, so that's why I did something weird there. But we have maintained our functionality, and we have moved some of this logic out of the main loop. I'm gonna commit. This isn't really a meaningful change, but it is like a valid state. The app works the game works as well as it did when I started. So move game state out of main loop. I don't really have a good idea right now what the interaction between what's actually going to end up in this main loop versus elsewhere. I don't know if I'm going to end up having like additional UI classes to model things. I do not have a really good idea of where this is going, but that's sort of the fun in it. So next up, why don't we move the move player logic out? So what could we say? Send key. So now we're saying send key, so we don't need this anymore. In fact, let's just sort of paste that code I was moving around. Send key. There's a key. And now our game. Now this code doesn't know anything about the UI at all, which is kind of nice. But unfortunately, this code, this might as well just be broke something. So now we can't break out of our loop that we were in down here. Now we can just do break if that's not beautiful. We're not even really very intuitive, but we're not keeping it for the long term, so. And I did something wrong. Did anyone catch what I did wrong? I did not change this to a Y. All my movement directions are working this time. That's nice. Okay, so this is a start, but the what I want to do here. Do we want to do this? So we could pass the terminal down into this thing, then this thing's gonna know about all the terminal stuff. Not that there's that much of it, but that's one thing we could do. Gosh, I gotta say the M1 MacBook Airs are just nuts. This, I used to stream on my Mac Mini, which is like a current gen i5, and it would just like pin the CPU to stream if I didn't have an eGPU with it. This MacBook Air sits at 13% whenever I'm streaming, and like that's with like Adobe Creative Cloud apps running in the background and like Discord and Slack, and I have Safari, Firefox, and Chrome and everything running right now. Like, it's very impressive. Okay, so what do we do now? We've got so maybe we want to like make a map. We can do something hacky with it too. So our map want to do this. So traditionally hashes are walls. So let's just make ourselves a room. Maybe another room below it. Let's go side by side, just because it's nicer to, it doesn't take up so much vertical space. We're not going to worry about walls. We're not going to worry about doors rather. We're not going to worry about very much at all. Actually, we should, however, worry about floor. Floor is kind of important. Whoops. So this can be a small room over here. This doesn't need to be enormous. So there's a map. Beautiful thing. Thank you. I'm rocking the Bullet Bourbon glass today, novelty glass here, promotional glass. But it is not Bullet Bourbon. It is Sexton, single malt Irish whiskey. Okay, so that's map. Beautiful. Map equals, so we'll say, the reason I put the dots in here is because I'm not going to do anything fancy here. I'm just going to look to see if the position at which the player is trying to move to is a dot, and then I'm going to let them move to it. I'm getting a little ahead of myself there because I kind of talked about how I was going to do rendering and then just sort of trailed off. But YOLO. So that's something reasonable. I don't think I've done anything. Oh, I shouldn't be able to. Prize not loaded in the real environment, which is fine because it wouldn't help me at all because Curses has control of the terminal. And so it would just break everything if I actually did invoke it. So let's start the player at 1-1 now. So that, or you know, start them even further into the room. Start them out 3-3. Now we just have to get to actually rendering that junk on the screen. So let's completely move our loop inside of, oh no, we want our loop here. We want to g.render, something like that. Or do we even really want to drive it like that? Do we care? We pass the terminal in. It doesn't work with everything. For example, if you use delegates or something, that won't respect your visibility modifiers like private, but adder reader and adder accessor and adder writer all actually will create private methods if you place them after the private call. But delegates doesn't, unfortunately, or at least it didn't last I checked. So now we can do some stuff. So at this point we want to render all the tiles, or like render the whole screen, then render the player. Do I still have that junk that I was using? Yeah, there we go. So this is how we do rendering. So yeah, we've reordered the logic, so now our player disappears as soon as we move, but that's fine. In fact, we can, oh, I can't quit now. Why can't I quit? Send key, oh, we did, we are still calling render outside, so I don't need to call render inside. Okay. Okay, that's more expected. Perfect. Oh, does it error when I quit? No, we're fine. That's just the previous run. We're good to go. Okay, so let's render the map first. We actually need the indexes here, each with index, and so these. This is the line, so that's the y coordinate, and line that each with index. Oops, forgot my do. That. So we just use those XY coordinates. We can draw them in default colors because why not? And we want to, rather than draw an at everywhere, we want to draw a symbol or a C, whatever the symbol is. Well, there we go. Now we're in a dungeon. Except we are not constrained by the walls. Oh, and I didn't delete the code that turns things orange. We do not actually need that code. Okay, I'm gonna remove the random foreground. In fact, let's leave the foreground as. Maybe we can make them. Let's see, we've got our color palette reference here. Something stands out like a orange or a red or something. 172, orange 3. That's not as bright in practice as I was hoping. Brighter. Gold 220. 220 looks nice. So hopefully it looks nice as a foreground too. Our specs are still there. There we go. Sure. That's not bad. Okay, so that's that. Now we're moving around, but we should, well, let's save. Move around our level. Now, as you may have noticed, I ran my tests just out of finger muscle memory there. There's some nice things about them. They're passing, despite us having made a whole bunch of changes that they shouldn't be. Additionally, they're also really fast, which it's really nice being outside of a Rails project. That's not a dig on Rails. It's just the reality that Rails has quite a bit of code, and I work mostly in Solidus projects, which is a whole bunch more code, and then a bunch of customizations on top of that, and usually quite a lot of stuff in there. And it's usually, those apps usually don't run as fast as, it's hard to find tests running at 10,000 assertions per second in a Rails app, So we've got our player, we've got X. So now we want to do something slightly more fun here. If map player, player position doesn't even really need to exist, actually. Before we do this, let's delete player position as a method. It does not give us anything we care about. Actually, that still works, yeah. Excellent. And then we can, what was I gonna do? Oh yes, put the logic in here. So don't want to write it a bunch of times. I'm going to say valid player location. And we want to check the map and make sure that the spot is a dot. And that's as fancy as we're going to get here. Remembering that because I split this into lines and map them to the characters, it means that it is an array of the lines, which are the y coordinates, with the x indexes within them. And now we can do this. If valid player position at player x minus 1 and player y. And we'll have to make these actually do the right thing. Oof. Say the right things. So this will be +1. These ones do not mess with the y position. They subtract from it or add to it. Could work. Oh. All right. Undefined method, valid player position, question mark. Valid player location. Just change the one that there's fewer occurrences of. Oh. He has a bug. What is going on? And the player's not moving off screen, but the player disappears when we try to move off screen. So, what is going on? I am going to need to implement logging. To be able to properly debug this at some point in the near future. What is going on? No, there's not a weird, like, precedence thing, presumably. Yeah, that's as expected. What is it that I am missing? I don't want to actually debug this. Let's say, let's do a little test here. If it is a valid position, we'll do that. Otherwise, we're going to raise player X, player Y. Inspect. Fine. 1, 3. Well, that is entirely expected and correct. So nothing weird happened there. First. Well, that is something entirely else. Did I break something? Oh, I had removed the... okay. Not having prize, very annoying. Not even having a logger is very annoying. It's like, I'll fix for a future run. But what is this? Why would the player fail to render? Render the map, and then we render the player. Then we refresh the terminal. How could you possibly get there without? Is there something weird in my terminal code? This is very difficult to debug without being able to use my debugger, because I'm pretty sure everything will just blow up if I... It's not gonna like that. Yeah. This technically works. Why is it flashing on and off? Well, that solves that problem, though I think I'm just hiding a bug, but it works, so let's leave it for now. Don't let player move through walls. It's a generous interpretation of what we've done, but I would say it's fair. It also means that we can add a goblin in here, and the goblin cannot be moved through, so add a goblin. No promises there are actually goblins in my game. My ideas for the actual nature of the universe and stuff are keeping my cards close to my chest on that one. But I will be, of course, revealing as we go. Well, I just don't want to get ahead of myself on that kind of stuff. I also want this room to be bigger. But maybe... what happens if we... maybe differently shaped? Just to... we could even put, like... yeah, now we got a real room here. Excellent. Okay, it's working surprisingly well. More geometry. Cool. So 11. Let's see if we can get some logic around the map area, or like scrolling the map maybe. We're just like jamming this full of state, and we're gonna want to move this around, but at least let's get it working. And okay, that works. But we're going to want to do something smarter. Oh, I think we're gonna get something interesting actually here. Okay. So show map offset. No. Can I just do this? I just want to test. Is it get C? I don't know what curses arrow keys. Is that something that I can actually? Yeah, that's nice. Is that a thing that's available to me in here? So if I require curses, oh yeah, curses already required. Curses arrow left, is that what it's called? A left, that's probably what I want. That is a number. Oh, key left. Okay. Doesn't let you do that. It's kind of hoping it would. Okay. Anyway. So kind of got two things. We want to render the, so we're already rendering the map sort of not centered, which is, or sorry, not just in the corner. So that's what we want. But we also want to be, I don't know, like, I guess what I want is, for starters, if I try and render it off screen, this should not work. And like, this is probably not, yeah, it's not rendering correctly. So, that's fine. Where do we want to handle that? I think what we're getting into here is now we're driving this from the wrong place. This render was convenient to structure as it is, but what I actually want is to be able to say, game, here's the or map component. Here's the area I want you to draw yourself. Please do that. And the map should loop over each character and decide what it wants to have in each position, I think. So this thing that I'm writing maybe is more, I don't know. It's definitely a UI component in some capacity. I should not commit that. That's a bad idea. That's not, the game is not in a valid working state. So maybe we want to compute. I think we can get sizing information. Yeah, it's probably not the right way to do this, but doesn't super matter. Like, maybe we should be asking the window for its size, but I don't care. So term dot width, and term dot height, give us the height and width. We want the area of the map area. Currently, we're assuming the terminal just never resizes. So term.width times, or maybe we'll have a fixed sidebar in this. That seems reasonable. So maybe call it 60. Sure. And we'll just use the full height for now. So I want sort of to be able to say like map dot render term. I'm just going to pass the terminal down, and I'm not going to give it an X and a Y unless down the road I want to render it not in the top corner, but it's always going to be the other parts, UI elements might need to render at different XY coordinates, but as far as I'm concerned, currently the map is always going to render at 0, so I don't think it's important. In fact, I'm not even going to make this a method. I'm just going to say term.width minus 60 here. And height I know I'm going to want to change, so. And this is starting to look more interesting. I don't know what map is right now, though. Oh, Nice cider. It's tasty. I might come back and retest for these once we get into the less sort of exploratory pieces. I'm probably going to write more tests and that kind of thing. But this time I'm sort of feeling out the structure of this, and I don't feel that I understand any of it well enough, or I'm liable to keep any of this code for long enough that I'd rather sort of let the tests inform my design once I have a better idea of what I'm doing. I think it would just sort of slow me down and frustrate me now. I normally try to test drive almost everything I do, but not today. So we're gonna need to move some stuff around because the map needs to know currently. So this map class I'm writing is going to contain all the actual game state now. And like probably more than I want it to, but that's fine. This we're going to want to keep, move down into here. It's a private method. Render is going to stay here, and let's just copy this down into a and then send key. This is going to be a little more interesting. I think we're gonna like send event maybe. We'll keep the same logic, so that'll be E. We can remove. Oops. Remove our quitting logic because the game doesn't need to know anything about that. And instead, we'll have a, let's just call them left, right. This is minus equals 1 is up and down. Okay. And now this is going to make more sense. We can do add map.send event. So this is not up, left. Sure. We're still not quite there, but we should get the same results as before. What did I do wrong? Syntax error, end of input. In which file? Loading game.rb. Intriguing. What did I miss? That and undefined method map, that's fine because we have not initialized that there. And now we have the same sort of slightly broken thing we had before. Now, here we want to, I've just sort of moved things around. I don't think I've meaningfully pushed myself towards the design I was going for. But that's fine. So what I want to do here now is where we want to get into rewriting this logic. Now that we've sort of isolated it in a more meaningful way. So these are height -1, I think, and width -1 respectively. Now we just want to loop over and render the things that we know are in those cells. So we can immediately do character. It's pretty easy. We can say if X now I have to do math, which, how do I do that math? So if this is the player position, so how do the offsets work? If the offset is 3, 3, the player's at 0, 0, then the player should be at 3, 3, so it's the if player's position here equal to X or with the offset, right? I think. Basically didn't sleep last night, so this is not math that I was prepared to do. So, scratch this. Well, we should probably still refresh the terminal. That's drawing the player at 3, 3, and our offset is negative, or sorry, is it 3, 3 or is it 2, 2? It is 2, 2. That's correct. Huh, I did it. Lucky. I got a new phone and among other things that were preventing me from sleeping, forgot to put it on Do Not Disturb mode. And it woke me up a few times before I realized what it was that was waking me up. Normally I have automatic Do Not Disturb, so I don't really think about it. So if it's that, otherwise we probably want to look at the map. And maybe this is conditional, else if X, maybe we want to use a range here, say 0 to, oh, this is tough. No, it's at offset X to map no, let's just do it for the Y. Okay. We can do this smarter later, but for this one, we're gonna just do something sort of hacky. We're gonna do map hot length -1 plus offset Y cover Y, and also X is greater than or equal to 0. Or no, I want to be slightly smarter than that. X is greater than or equal to offset x. Then I think we want to render this character, or this whatever we want to call it. And this is going to be map. Oof. Y plus. There's no way I get this right? Nice. What's my offset again? -1? Not quite. But like kind of almost, you know? Very close. What is going on here? These feel wrong. And yet. So now our first line is above. So that's not right either. Okay, well, let's see. For offset x, offset y, that works. Oh, probably don't want to delete everything. Oh, come on. That doesn't work at all. Okay. So I have a better idea here. So we should always be rendering to x and y, right? I don't think this logic was right, but I don't care. So let's I'm gonna make my map into a hash. Where the keys are going to be, ooh, that wasn't quite what I was going for. Where the keys are going to be XY coordinate pairs. So we'll say at map is going to be a new hash where the default value is going to be the empty string, and then we are going to loop over the lines of this, using each with index, and that'll give us the line and the y coordinate. Then we'll go line.chars.each index, and this will be the character and the x coordinate, and then we'll set that value in here. So x, y equals c. Now the whole thing is a hash, so we can do nice fast lookups on it and not worry about the length of it or looking at negative values or anything. We don't even care. We can now index it as if it is an infinite space, and we'll always get a character back from it. And we have inadvertently flipped our map. But not our player location. That is one of the more hilarious things I've done. I just swapped the things here because I forgot to invert them. Okay. Now we're back to working again, but do our offsets work? What happens if we attempt a negative offset? Our player renders correctly, but our map renders wrong. Okay. So that likely means we've added when we meant to subtract. Excellent, that looks like it works. This would have been far easier to figure out using tests, but, you know, why make things easy for ourselves? Wow, that's cool. Okay, I mean, I would say I would call this a success. Should I release a new version? Oh, sorry. Oh, it is working. If I remember correctly, because I have two-factor auth, this actually isn't going to work. Yeah. All right, just a sec while I hide my secrets from you. All right. I think this has been a success. Let's go. Let's go make sure our version 2 has been out. You can go yourself now. Move around my little room that I've created. Next week, I think we will begin on the hard part of building out the actual ECS entity component system framework that we'll use to house the bulk of the game logic. Basically, we're going to probably need some sort of event system to go along with that. I have no idea what that's going to look like. That's going to be sort of more exploratory and that kind of thing. But I think is the main next step. So thank you for coming out. And we'll be back again with this next week, as well as I should have a stream on Friday. That'll likely be looking into Solidus stuff and looking at some of the big changes that are going to Solidus 3. So, see ya.